Thank you so much, Eric. Hey, I mean, we're all friends here. We've at one point or another, I've met a lot of you, and some of you know my story, and some of you don't, right? But before I even get started, I want to know how many of you at one point in time wish at the end of the day, man, I wish I had more hours, or I wish I had more help. Can I see some hands? Right? Yeah. How many of you have experienced this other thing where you're out with your family, you're out and about having fun, and then all you could think about is the things that you have to do the following day at work? How many have done that? Right? Yeah. Neil got both hands up. But that's where I was. I was feeling that in 2016. I have, our medical office. At the time, it was just me, another doctor, two other staff. And people kept telling me, you gotta get on Facebook. You gotta get on Facebook. I'm like, oh, social media is not for business. There's no way I'm gonna do business on there. My patients are not on Facebook. And then I went to a seminar and they said, your patients are on Facebook. The average age of Facebook users are getting higher and higher. I was like, oh crap, I need to get on social media. So my background, yes, I'm a chiropractor, but in high school, I did a lot of graphics and computer work. So I said, it's all good. I know Photoshop. I can edit videos with Camtasia, Adobe Premiere. I can do all that. So immediately I start filming things and I started putting it on social media. But as a doctor, I'm running my office Monday through Friday. So when do I do it? I go into the office on a Saturday morning and a Sunday morning at 5 a.m. And who's ever edited videos before? Ever, right? A 5-minute video can take hours to edit. So I'm editing a video from like 5 to like 10 a.m., and then I'll go in there and make graphics and try to dial it in. And what ended up happening was my daughter was born in 2012. So at the time she was only 4. I started losing a lot of morning time. I wasn't waking up with them anymore. I wasn't at home anymore. And I said, I need help. And I didn't know where to get the help. So I looked online and I found Fiverr. So I was like, oh, cool, 10, 20 bucks and you get a graphics done and whatnot. And I was researching on how to get more online help. I said, if this person can do it on Fiverr, I said, man, maybe I just need someone who can do it for me a long time, because Fiverr, I'm getting different people all the freaking time. So I landed on this YouTube video that talked about virtual assistants. I had no idea. Who doesn't know what a virtual assistant is? Anyone, or are we okay? Okay, everyone knows what a virtual assistant is. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try this virtual assistant thing. I hired my first one that specialized in graphics and video. And within the first month, I realized, oh my God, it's saving me so much time. I'm able to wake up with my family. I'm able to do things now with them without having to think about, oh, do I need to edit this video and that? And soon after, because it's helped me so much in the practice, I hired a second one to help me specifically with advertising. And then eventually a third one. By 2018, I had 4. And friends were asking me about the advertising. I was strictly doing my own Facebook marketing and Google Ads marketing. I was doing it on my own. And my friends were like, dude, who's doing it for you? I was like, oh, I have my home team doing it, of virtual assistants. And eventually they started asking me, you know what, maybe you can do it for us. I said, for real? You want me to do it for you? They were like, yeah. So from there, 2018, I started going into the Grant Cardone conference. You see those 10X posters back there. And he says the most important thing in a business is people. And I didn't really understand it at the time. But as I had virtual assistants, my online platform started to grow, our office started growing. In 2017, we doubled the size of our practice, went from 1,600 square feet to 3,200. And in 2019, the space opened up next door. I said, you know what, let me just take that over as well. So now we have 4,400 square feet. But at the time, I still have 4 virtual assistants. But as time went on, our team grew, so I needed more support. Where people were asking me things, like my office manager will start asking me, hey, can we get this flyer done and this done and that done? And I said, why are you doing? I said, why am I paying her, $25, $30 an hour to do graphics? So I introduced her to our virtual assistants. So now my team started using virtual assistants as well. And now, although, yeah, sometimes I'm still thinking about what I'm going to do, but I have the structure and the people to do it. Right now, I have 10 virtual assistants, full-time, right? And people ask me this, the first time they hear about it, they're like, what the heck are your virtual assistants doing? Who's thinking about that when I said 10, right? Yeah, like, what are they doing? I'll tell you what they're doing. I have one that's a blogger. He blogs for our website, right? And that's all he does. He's just blogging. I have one that handles me and other clients, Facebook ads and Google ads. I have 2 that are phenomenal graphics and video editing. When you look at reels and stories, I got asked by a couple of Jake and Gino members, they said, Alex, do you like work, or are you always just online doing stuff? And they didn't know at the time I have virtual assistants. I was like, no, I'm not, I work. And they're like, why are you always online? And I said, what? And they're like, yeah, you're like dishing out videos. Like, it's crazy. And I said, well, I have virtual assistants for that, right? But here's the more impactful thing. As I have scaled and grown with the number of people on my team, our income has grown as well, and our reach has grown. In 2016, we were doing multiple 6-figure revenue in our medical practice. And by 2020, when I scaled to 8, 9 virtual assistants, like last year, 10 we added this year, we've grown to multiple 7-figure practice now. It has 5 times our practice between 2016 to 2021, right? And now I have more time than ever. I was working 5 days a week. Well, hell, 5.5, 6 days, because I was in the office from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? Our office opened at 6 or 8 o'clock, and I was working till 6. And as I added more people, we dialed it to a 410 office. But now I'm only in the office 3 days a week. But on Tuesdays, I'm just there just as a backup. So I'm really working in the office on Wednesday and Thursday. Our new patient, because every time a new patient comes in now in that business, they already know who I am. They've seen my videos. My virtual assistants have dialed in a follow-up process from the moment a client calls. They're getting emails, texts on exactly, and this is something that they've dialed in for me, right? Where now it's a lot more hands-off. If we need a flyer, something made, I get it made that day. If they need a video, I can shoot a video and they will edit and produce it that day, if not by the next day. And it has allowed me to have time with my family. Having a business is hard enough a lot of times when you're doing it on your own and you don't have the right help. But the biggest problem that we've been facing in the last couple of years because of COVID is that people in America, I don't know how it is over where you guys are at, but in California, people haven't really been working. They've been getting checks, right? And you see, I drive down in Lake Tahoe here, there's restaurants. Oh, $2,000 bonus for a cook, right? For a waitress that will sign on. It's hard to find good help. Who here runs a business who have found it hard to find good help? Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. But we have scaled through that during this time and haven't backed off because of our virtual assistants. And I got to tell you, the virtual assistants, most of them are from, all of them actually, are from the Philippines. They're some of the most, I'll say, appreciative people that I have ever met. And one of my virtual assistants I was talking to, we had a virtual assistant panel, because Valerie and I, throughout this time, have really talked about how virtual assistants can help people, help you guys, right? Help business owners, real estate professionals. And I had a thought the other day. I said, how are we going to attract better virtual assistants? So I actually got on a panel with my top 3 virtual assistants. And I said, let me ask you guys. I said, let me ask you why you want to work for us. And one of them that's been working with me, and she's the one, if you've been reached out to on LinkedIn, she's probably the one that reached out to you. Okay. So just so you know, it wasn't me most of the time. But here's the thing. She told me this story and I said, wow, how humbling and how good do we have it here? She says, Dr. Tam, before I worked with you, I was working at a restaurant. And it's a lot of very gratifying to hear this. And I want to tell you this story. She says she was working at a restaurant. She says, but the restaurant was 4.5 hours away. And I said, how'd you get home? She said, I didn't. She says, on Sunday night, I will take the bus and it'll be 4.5 hours. I rent a bed over there. And on Friday night, no, she said on Saturday afternoon, because she worked 5.5 days a week. Saturday afternoon, she would take the bus back home, 4.5 hours. She says, but the worst part was, while I was living in this town, because of COVID, bus service stopped for 3 months. And because taxi cost so much, I walked 1.5 hours to work every single day. And I was like, damn. I said, not only was it bad enough that the restaurant you worked at was 4.5 hours away, but you walked 1.5 hours to work every single day for 6 days a week. I thought to myself, I have nothing to complain about, and she was so appreciative that now we hired her. She gets to work from home, be with her kids that her parents watch. But it's just the story for our staff and our virtual assistants. I know every one of them really, really well. The first thing that I tell clients, I said, when you have a virtual assistant, I said, you got to treat them like people. They're not your transactional. If you have transactional relationships with your employees, you're going to have transactional employees. You're going to have a transactional business. I want to build a transformational business. I want to know them. I want them to know me. I say every client, when you first start, the worst thing is you get to think that you get a virtual assistant and they know how to do everything and you're just hands off. I said, I'm 6 years in and I still have a meeting with my virtual assistants every morning, a 15-minute minimum meeting. Everyone go through their rounds, what they're working on, challenges you're going through, what's our vision, what's our goal for the day, right? But the way we operate that has helped me so much in having the virtual assistants. I cannot, and Helen will attest to this, she cannot see what we do right now without virtual assistants. We get on a GP team and we're the ones that volunteer for the marketing. Helen builds the website. I said, you need flyers, you need PowerPoint. My team will crank that out. Just give me the data. You know, when we did our first one, our credibility book that, you know, Jake and Gino talked about, I went through, we had 3 virtual assistants working on that. And within about 4 days, we cranked out a phenomenal, beautiful credibility book that we modeled after some of the best ones that we know of. You know, but those are, it's the, I see it as, I call it attack speed. How quickly can you get from point A to point B, from your thought to actual happening? How quickly can you get there? You don't have enough time. I don't have enough time in a day. If I need something done, it is as quickly as a Skype message that I record and my team's on it. Because one of my virtual assistants is she's my marketing director. She handles the marketing for me. Her job is to create a brand for me, ultimately, you see. But how cool, I mean, I think what we have right now with our virtual assistants is so awesome, because if I need something done, it's going to get done right away. I'm not going to ponder, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Or, you know, but that's the power of having people, right? You know, how many of you have thought of something, but then took a lot longer than you thought you were going to do? I have. I've done it. Before a virtual assistant, that's how it went down. See, but for now, anything that I can do on the phone, a virtual assistant can do. Anything I do on a computer, a virtual assistant can do. Just to tell you guys, you know, I use them personally all the time. The other day, you know, Helen brings me lunch every day to work. Okay, she drops by the office. And the other day at 11:45, my lunch wasn't there. I asked my front desk staff, I said, did Helen come by? And I texted Helen, I said, am I not getting lunch today? She said, I'm still stuck on this GP call, asset management. She said, you're on your own. I messaged my virtual assistant right away. I said, you already know what I like. Can you order me something and have it delivered to the office? How does she know what I like? I have a menu from 3 different restaurants, and I picked out 3 things that they know I like to eat. So out of those 9 items, I love all of them. So when I say I need to have lunch, they already know. And within 30 minutes, it was at the office. And I said, buy some Thai tea for everybody as well, you know, from this Thai restaurant that you picked out. And she did. Right? I don't have to get on the phone, get on the menu and do this and do that. It was already done. So just to close out, a virtual assistant has made my life, has completely transformed the way I look at life and the way I do vacations. Because nowadays, I still, even when I'm on vacation, I still have my 15-minute meeting with my whole team. And my team is ready to roll. 2 weeks ago, we were in Alaska and no reception whatsoever. And they knew what to do. They knew. And I didn't skip a beat. Our office income did not go down because we weren't there. Our postings online, our metrics were still measured and kept up the whole time, right? And I say everything that, you know, I have accomplished is for them. And my goal next year, once they lift some of the COVID things, is to fly out to the Philippines. And I want to take my core team to a resort in the Philippines and just get to know them as people. Because to me, whether it's employees or whether it's others, you know, investors that I work with, the relationship is key. And for those of you who are ever looking at virtual assistants, that's the biggest thing, is don't just treat them transactionally. You know, they're people with families, you know, their struggles are way harder than our struggles. So that's all I have to say. But if you guys have questions about virtual assistants, we do Q&A. I don't know, we do Q&A now. We do breakout rooms. I don't know how it's going to get done.
I got a question for you, Alex.
Yeah.
So how do you get to the point where your VA is you? And what I mean by that is, so my writing style is a certain way, right? Like, so if I'm pointing that off on to a VA, it's not going to be me. So that's my limiting belief. So get the sledgehammer out. Brush it.
No, got it. 2 weeks ago, I got on the call, video call just like this, with my VA, who answers questions and who reaches out to people on LinkedIn. And we actually, once a week, we hop on and we look at the messages. And I say, look at how you answer this. This just happened. And I said, you made me sound like a girl. I said, you were like saying something about a poem. And I said, the way you talk is not the way I would talk. I said, let's go back. And I said, you are enough meetings. You've been with me long enough where you know how I speak on a regular basis. So you have to think, what would Dr. Tam say? How would I say it? Right? And the week after, the stuff she wrote was just like what I would have written. And then I would tell her, I would say to her, I would say, see, I said, this is how you were write. I said, because that's how I would talk. I said, the way you write, and she was an ESL teacher, right? And the way you write, the grammar that you write and the way you wrote it is great. If it was a very professional female, and sometimes if I didn't know the person, but I said, the way I talk to you and the way I talk to people is how you're going to write. So it's just, you let them write, right? And you tell them how you want the tone to be, because even in writing, there's a tone, right? And then you just monitor that every week, just once a week, go through the messages. And it's going to take about a month or so to dial in, but it's key touches. It's touches. I get a lot of people that ask me, oh my gosh, I've used a VA before. After 2 months, 3 months, they just ghost me. And I said to them this, I said, let me ask you this. How often are you having deep thought conversations with mission, vision, and core values with your VAs? I talk to them once a month or when I need something. I said, imagine if you went on a date and someone that you work with all the time, you want to really get this person knowing, understanding you, but you just talk to them once a month. I said, you can't communicate with your normal. I said, you don't even communicate with your normal employees that way. What makes you think the executive assistant that you think is supposed to mimic you is ever going to be able to mimic you with just one touch a month? I would ghost you, you know? So that's how I would do it, Neil. You got to have touch points with them. You got to have touch points.
So it's the same. It's the same with the blogger and even the video. The
absolutely
the way they do the videos. They're going to do their videos, and then you just have to. It's that constant tweaking, and eventually they pick up on the vibe. And then
I tell you this, with my videographer, great example. When I first hired him, he said he knows what he's doing, and the first week, I told my marketing director, I was like, what the hell what's he putting up? I said, this is completely different than my style. I said, is he even good at what he does? And that was my limiting belief. That was us not showing him enough of what he needs to see. By week 2, we tweaked things with him all the time. Week 3, I start showing him, okay, this is what Cardone's doing. This is what Gary Vee's doing. This is what Lewis Howe's doing. I said, this is what I want to mimic. And now he's phenomenal. He is doing exactly what I need him to do. And I told my marketing director, Rocky, I said, Rocky, thank God how we never emotionally let him go, because we're emotionally attached, right, to our product, you know? And one of the things that I've learned through personal development, you ever heard of a ladder of inference? No, ladder of inference. The first step of ladder of inference is looking at what's actually happening. And here's an example. Who's ever got, you were looking for a parking space and you've been waiting, you're waiting, the car pulls out and another guy swoops in and takes your spot. It's happened, right? Natalie's like, yes, it's happened. Vlad, it's happened. What's our first thought? This mother effer, what the, you know, right? That's our first thought. What would your emotions look like as you're pulling up to the guy, yelling at him, and he comes out and says, hey man, I'm so sorry. I know I took your spot, but my wife is 9 months pregnant. She just gave me a call and we're about to have our first baby. What would your emotions tell you right away? Your emotions gone down. Immediately, oh my gosh, do you need any help? Complete 180. And what I've learned through personal development is we got to look at what's happening. What's the facts? How do you assess the situation based on the facts, not based on our prior beliefs and our prior thoughts, right? And that's a lot of times, even with employees. If you've had bad employees, if you've had employees who's really just sat there and play with their phones and do nothing, sometimes you would think your virtual assistant is not doing anything, right? But it's in the background, they're actually doing a lot trying to figure you out.
Alex, question about help with underwriting, especially data entry. Have you had any luck with that aspect of it?
Heck yes. I even put together a table, the way that Bill Ham teaches it, that napkin, back of the napkin. I have one built out when I was looking for deals. Units, they would contact the brokers as my executive assistant and say, Doug, we're really aggressively looking for apartments in your area. Can you please send us the T12, the rent roll? They will have all that data. They send it to me. They will put it all in. They'll put in the costs, everything. They'll come out with DSCRs, loan to whatever value. And then I told them, here's what I told them. I said, anything that has a 1.2, okay, even 1.1, I say sometimes, depending on the area. DSCR, contact a broker. I want the rent roll and T12. Call them. They got phones. They can call, they can text, they can email. Anything under one, definitely we're not looking at, you know, in certain locations. And at the end of the day, they'll update the whole spreadsheet. They'll highlight the ones that are green, certain ones that are yellow, right? And they'll do an initial underwriting. I have not taught one to do a full, complete underwriting, but they do the initial one. And they got T12s and rent roll in my email already. So if I'm interested, I look at it, I do my own underwriting, and then we're rock solid. The deal flow I had, when I was doing that, I realized eventually that I wasn't going to be your deal finder. I said, I'm going to be more of your capital raiser because I'm not in an area where I can compete with people who are local. But I had brokers calling me. I was like, oh my God, now that they're calling me, I don't know what to do. You know? So, but yeah, absolutely, Doug, that is huge. Anything you can do on a computer or on a phone, you can train someone else to do. Just know that. You can train a VA to do because a lot of them are very capable. You just got to find the right one.
Alex, quick question. Now, the phones and computers and things like that, do you provide that or they have
Nope.
all that equipment?
If it's phone, Google Voice. Computer, they have it. Right? Now, I have before, you know, I needed one that was on camera. So I actually bought them a $80 webcam, you know, but they have all that. They have the computers. I check their internet speed. I know what computer models they have, right? So if it's a graphics person, they need to have a good processor and a computer, storage, very fast internet speed. Surprisingly, I'll tell you this, I've realized their upload and download speed in certain areas of the Philippines are phenomenal. I have never seen a 200 download and a 200 upload before here in the US. They do that. I was like, are you serious? Your upload speed and download speed is the same? I said, my download speed is like 200, but my upload is like 30. But their upload speed, because their infrastructure is made for virtual assistants. So their upload speed is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Anything else?
Alex, I had a quick question, man.
Yeah.
Hey, so how do you map out the process of, I guess, do you just start with what you do on a day-to-day and then map out how you would do it, video it, and then figure out what can you delegate? Or is there, how do you start, I guess? How do you figure out what they can do and what they can't do? What's meaningful?
It depends on what you need done, right? So what do you do, Jake? Real quick.
So I'm a high ticket sales guy. Everything that we do is lead driven though. So probably where my bottleneck is spending time with people that aren't necessarily the right type of buyer.
Perfect.
I've got like five calls a day. So
there you go. So the first thing that you could do is initially, when you do a high ticket item, is you probably have lead generation, right?
Yep.
Lead forms that you do. Your
Yep.
VAs can dial that in. If you can train someone really good in speaking and sales, they can actually ask initial questions for you, right? And now you will be the second person that they talk to.
right.
A lot of VAs do cold calling, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
They actually talk to the people, figure out what they need. I look at, okay, what's going to help me excel at what I do, right? For me, what I do in the office is I talk to patients, they sign up for a high ticket program, my doctors adjust them, and I'm done. I am the one who talks to them one-on-one. But between the moment they see an ad, the graphics, the videos, and all that, I don't need to do all that. I can make the video. I got to be the face, right? So Jake, you have to be the face, but you don't have to be the one editing it. You don't have to be the one shooting it, doing it on reels, stories. That's all VA stuff. So that by the time the client comes to you, you already have trust built in. That follow-up system is locked in, right? If a client says no to me, I have a 180-day follow-up with them through text, email. Hey, it's Dr. Tam reaching out to you again. And then I provide value to them, right? All these back-end stuff you don't have to do. You just focus on your one-on-one because that's where your high skills are at. That's where you're going to sell them. I say that's where a VA can help you excel.
Cool.
Hi, Alex. Actually, I've seen a lot of your ads and graphics online for your the chiropractic. It does is really good, especially on the spine. Like, how? I guess you provide the contact for the VAs to do that, because I'm trying to figure out on something that is what I'm doing. How do I get them? Well, I guess you're educating them to
Yeah. How do you get the content, right?
Yeah.
So in order for the VA to get the content, they have to know your business, right? Just like onboarding a regular employee, they have to know what your business is all about. What's your vision? What's your mission? What are your core values? And what is it that you actually do? You cannot expect a VA to post something for you when they have no clue about what the company is. So part of it is they have to know what you do, right? Let's just say you want to post about capital raising. Well, when you post about capital raising, who's the content for? The content is for an investor, people who are investing in real estate. If you want ideas on content, write this down. It's a website called Answer the Public. Answer the Public, you can go there, type in one word about real estate, and it will give you a huge map who, what, when, where, why, like 80 ideas of what that specific topic is. And then I tell my VA to go to a website called SpyFu, SPYFU. SpyFu, you can type in what is a real estate investor, and you can actually see who organically ranks the highest on that topic. And then what I have my VA do, this is some practice secrets here now. What I have my VA do is I then have them look at the article, read the content, understand the content, write about it, blog about it, right? Or talk about it. Because it's already ranked high. I don't have to recreate the whole thing. It's rip off and duplicate. My blogger does that all day long. I have the whole process dialed in, right? But if they have any misunderstanding, you gotta talk to them. Hey, watch this video. This video is really good. I want my next post to be about this.
And do you review it before it's posted public, or
At the beginning, you have to. I have them send it to me, send me the post, send me the video. I'm going to look over it. That's why I love Skype, because on Skype, I could just press the talk button. I say, hey, you need to change this, this, and this. This doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. Let's make it happen. At the beginning, you do. After about a month or so, they now understand your business. They understand your audience, right? They understand who's it going to and what you're trying to, what's the message supposed to feel like? See, it's not what they're writing. It's how do I want the end user to feel when they see this? You see, and then once they have that understanding, that works for any business. Once they have that understanding, because it's just like having an employee. If you don't teach your employee what to say to your client, they'll mess up all day long because you never train them. You know, so you got to look back at yourself. It's like, did we not train them? Or do they just suck, right? Do they, it's the will and skill. Do they have the will? And did I give them the skill? You know, so if they got the will, I can give anybody the skill. There's no doubt.
Does anybody else have any questions for Alex at this time? Alex, that was a fantastic presentation. I love all the information and the educational nuggets you dropped for us. We really appreciate it, my friend.